Joining me now is the White House correspondent for PBS NewsHour and MSNBC political analyst Yamiche Alcindor, and lawyer and host of the Dean Obeidallah show on SiriusXM, Dean Obeidallah. He's a columnist as well for MSNBC Daily. Welcome to both of you. Yamiche, this border situation is complicated on a number of fronts, right? What Biden has done is taken out some of the inhumane policies of the last administration, also taken down spending for the border wall, but has had to increase spending on the care and custody of this massive number of immigrants that we're now seeing at the southern border. It is a lot of political capital for a problem he wasn't really looking for.
That's right. And the Biden administration continues to say they want to be more humane, more moral with the situation at the border. And that means, as you pointed out, that's going to cost money. Now, there's this real, I think, push from Republicans to say President Biden changed the policies and now he's letting these unaccompanied minors in, when in fact what he's doing essentially is following U.S. law. The former President Trump was not following U.S. law. He was turning away 3-year-olds and 10-year-olds against international law. So now with President Biden having done this, having made this huge decision to say, no, we're going to start following it, it's now become this real challenge that Democrats and Republicans for decades have had to wrestle with. So he's, of course, spending millions of dollars on these shelters to try to get humane conditions. And still, there's still a real struggle there because there's still children that are hungry, that are saying they're sleeping on the floor, that are not getting light. There's all that going on. And then you have this issue of the Northern Triangle that the vice president is dealing with. And that, just talking to administration officials, is really seen as a very, very big task, a challenging task, a task that might take her all 4 years of this term to start to deal with. Because what you see there is these real situations in Guatemala and in Honduras. And as Eamon just talked to you about, there's real desperation in those places. A lot of it is also tied to past U.S. law and past U.S. policies.
And Dean, like we saw with Syrian refugees, this problem, as Yamiche talks about, the lack of safety, the lack of financial security in these Central American countries is not a short-term problem. It will, even if Biden decides he wants to deal with this, it probably will take up his entire term and the term of whoever the next president of the United States is. However, we do have to sort of evaluate the way we think about immigration. The last administration turned the southern border into all of immigration policy in America.
I agree with you 100%. And I think it's a question of leadership. Under Donald Trump, he spent $15 billion to build a wall and end aid to the 3 countries in Central America that needed it for a period of time, then let them trickle money that they needed desperately for their own infrastructure, to get back drug cartels, so people didn't have to flee for their lives. I think it's about Joe Biden showing leadership, that the United States is back. We're not going to be building walls and hiding behind it. We're going to show leadership. That is going to cost money, but it's helping the people in Central America. It's showing the United States is playing a role of being compassionate and caring. It's going to cost, look, we're going to spend double the amount of money that Trump allocated for the nations in Central America. I think the American people hopefully will be on board with this. The United States means something special. So being a leadership and helping people in Central America, as opposed to putting a wall up for $15 billion and turning our back on the rest of Central America and people on need, I think this is the proposition that Joe Biden wants. And if you looked in his campaign, he talked about this. This was an important part of his campaign. It's a big thing on his website, having leadership in Central America. I think this is the right thing to do.
Yamiche, let's talk about the Supreme Court for a second. The president has issued an executive order on the establishment of a presidential commission on the Supreme Court of the United States. This falls into the same category of political capital that I don't think Joe Biden was looking to have to invest in, but then Donald Trump went and nominated a 3rd Supreme Court nominee just days before the last election campaign, which got Democrats really mad. And there are people who want him to expand the court and appoint more Democratic justices. So what is Biden trying to do here? Is he trying to buy a little time, or is he trying to get the research done on what the right thing to do vis-a-vis the Supreme Court is?
The White House would say it's the latter, that they're now going to study the Supreme Court. They're going to study the issues at hand. And then really, they're also going to be listening to the Democratic base and lawmakers to try to think through what sort of changes, if at all, might need to be done to the Supreme Court. But let's be clear here. This is also an issue that Republicans and some Democrats want to latch onto. The Republicans don't want to talk about COVID. They don't want to talk about the stimulus and infrastructure plans because those things are kind of going well for Biden. Instead, this Supreme Court issue, the idea that President Biden could expand the Supreme Court, motivates Republicans in a way, especially Republican voters, in a way that could really be impactful in 2022 if you start to see Republicans say he's going to pack the court. They're going to put 15 judges on. They're all going to be progressive. They're going to change the way things have been done. You already see someone like Mitt Romney, a senator, a Republican senator who's been somewhat moderate, saying this is now Democrats trying to change the institutions of America. So this is going to be a real battle if President Biden does decide to make some changes to the Supreme Court.
Dean, what do you think? What's the right thing to do here? There are institutionalists who are not necessarily Republicans who say toying with the Supreme Court may not be the right thing to do.
I want to see a super court. I want to see us all get a chance to be justices on the Supreme Court for a couple of days each. Be kind of nice. Me, Justice Dean, Justice Ali, Yamiche. Look, the reality is you need to pass a law to expand the Supreme Court. We need to get 60 votes in the Senate to pass this, to expand the Supreme Court. We're not going to get 60 votes, and Joe Manchin made it very clear this week he's not going to even reform the filibuster. So I think this is important. I have listeners to my show, Democrats, not just progressives, moderate Democrats as well, want to see the Supreme Court reform because we understand we can pass like For the People Act, which will expand voting rights, and this 6-3 Supreme Court could strike it down. We can pass climate change laws, and this Supreme Court can strike it down. We can expand health care, and this Supreme Court could strike it down. So in reality, I don't see it expanding, but there is polling that shows Americans are on board with reform, it's like having a retirement age, not expanding, but doing something along those lines.
You two are fantastic. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday morning. Dean Obeidallah is the host of the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM. Yamiche Alcindor, PBS NewsHour White House correspondent and an MSNBC contributor.